What happens when two of music's biggest voices collide in a way nobody saw coming? The Kelly Clarkson Show has always been known for its warm, friendly atmosphere, but today's episode took a turn that left everyone in the studio speechless. Adam Lambert, the powerhouse vocalist who rose to fame on American Idol and became the frontman of Queen, sat down with fellow Idol alum Kelly Clarkson for what was supposed to be a light-hearted catch-up about his latest projects. Instead, what unfolded was a tense exchange that escalated so dramatically, Adam actually walked off the set mid-interview. Before we get into exactly what went down, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and drop a comment below with your thoughts on what happened here. Kelly started the conversation with her signature enthusiasm, welcoming Adam to the show with a big smile. The audience cheered as he settled into the guest chair, and for the first few minutes, everything seemed perfectly normal. They exchanged pleasantries, laughed about old memories from their Idol days, and Adam talked briefly about his upcoming tour. But then Kelly shifted gears in a way that immediately changed the energy in the room. "So Adam, I have to ask you something that I think a lot of people are curious about," Kelly said, leaning forward slightly. "You've been the frontman of Queen for over a decade now, and you've done an incredible job honoring Freddie's legacy. But there's been some talk recently, some criticism from certain corners, about whether it's time to maybe step back and let the band's legacy rest. What do you say to people who feel that way?" The question hung in the air for a moment. Adam's smile faded just slightly, and you could see him processing what had just been asked. "Well, Kelly, I'd say those people don't really understand what Brian and Roger wanted when they asked me to do this," he replied, his tone measured but noticeably cooler. "We're not trying to replace Freddie. Nobody could ever replace Freddie Mercury. What we're doing is celebrating his music and keeping it alive for new generations." Kelly nodded, but then pressed further. "I totally get that, and I think you do an amazing job. But don't you ever feel like, I don't know, like you're always going to be in someone else's shadow? Like no matter what you do, you'll always be compared to Freddie?" Adam's jaw tightened visibly. "That's part of the job, Kelly. I knew that going in. But I don't think about it as being in a shadow. I think about it as standing in a spotlight that Freddie built. And I'm honored to stand there." "Right, but be honest with me," Kelly continued, and there was something in her tone that suggested she wasn't going to let this go easily. "Don't you sometimes wish you were known more for your own music, your own artistry, instead of being the guy who sings with Queen? I mean, you have such an incredible voice, and your solo work is fantastic. But let's face it, most people know you as the Queen frontman now." The audience had gone quiet. This wasn't the fun, breezy interview anyone had expected. Adam shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable with where this was heading. "Kelly, I'm proud of everything I've done, both with Queen and in my solo career. I don't see it as one being more important than the other." "But come on," Kelly pushed back, and now there was an edge to her voice that hadn't been there before. "You can't tell me it doesn't bother you at least a little bit. You were supposed to be this huge breakout star after Idol, and yeah, you've had success, but not at the level people expected. Meanwhile, you're touring the world singing someone else's songs. That has to sting sometimes, doesn't it?" Adam's eyes flashed with something, anger maybe, or hurt, or both. "I think you're projecting here, Kelly. Just because my career path didn't look like yours doesn't mean I'm disappointed with it. I've sold millions of albums, toured the world multiple times, and I get to perform with one of the greatest rock bands in history. I'm pretty satisfied with where I am." Kelly laughed, but it wasn't her usual warm laugh. It sounded forced, almost defensive. "Projecting? Adam, I'm just asking questions that I think viewers want to know. You don't have to get defensive about it." "I'm not defensive," Adam shot back, his voice rising slightly. "I'm just wondering why you're so focused on framing my career as some kind of consolation prize. Is this really about me, or is this about something else?" The tension in the studio was palpable now. Kelly's smile had become fixed, professional, but the warmth was completely gone. "I don't know what you mean by that." "Don't you?" Adam leaned forward now, matching her posture. "Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're trying to make some kind of point about success and expectations, and you're using my career to do it." Kelly's expression hardened. "Adam, that's ridiculous. I'm doing my job as a host, asking questions that create interesting conversation. If you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. Tough questions? Adam's voice was incredulous now. Kelly, there's a difference between tough questions and passive-aggressive jabs. You've basically spent the last 5 minutes suggesting that my career is disappointing and that I'm living in someone else's shadow. How is that creating interesting conversation? That's just being rude. The audience was completely silent. You could see people in the front row exchanging uncomfortable glances. Kelly's producers off-camera looked concerned, but nobody moved to intervene yet. Kelly sat back in her chair, crossing her arms. I'm being rude? Adam, I've been nothing but complimentary about your talent. I literally said you do an incredible job and that your voice is amazing. Yeah, right before you suggested that I should quit Queen and implied that I'm not living up to my potential, Adam countered. Those compliments ring pretty hollow when they're followed by criticism disguised as concern. Kelly's face flushed slightly. You know what, Adam? Maybe the reason you're taking this so personally is because there's some truth to what I'm saying. Maybe deep down, you do wonder if you made the right choices. Adam laughed, but it was a bitter sound. Wow, okay, so now you're a therapist too? Kelly, you don't know anything about my inner thoughts or my choices. You're making assumptions based on your own perspective, and honestly, it says more about you than it does about me. What's that supposed to mean? Kelly demanded, her voice sharp. It means that maybe you're the one who's bothered by the way careers turn out, Adam said, his words coming faster now, fueled by frustration. Maybe you're projecting your own insecurities onto me because it's easier than dealing with them yourself. Kelly's eyes widened. My insecurities? Are you serious right now? Adam, I have a massively successful talk show. I've won multiple Grammys. I have a beautiful family. What exactly do I have to be insecure about? I don't know, Kelly, you tell me, Adam replied, leaning forward again. Because from where I'm sitting, you seem awfully invested in tearing down my career choices. Why is that? Why do you care so much about whether I'm happy singing with Queen or whether I feel overshadowed by Freddie? Kelly stood up abruptly, her microphone still clipped to her blazer. The sudden movement startled everyone. I care because I'm trying to have a real conversation instead of the usual boring publicity nonsense. I thought we knew each other well enough to be honest. Adam stood up too, facing her across the coffee table that separated them. Honest? Kelly, there's a difference between honesty and hostility. You've been hostile since you asked that first question, and I think we both know it. I have not been hostile, Kelly insisted, but her voice was shaking slightly now. Whether from anger or something else, it was hard to tell. I've been direct. I've been real. If you can't handle that, that's your problem. Not mine. No, Kelly, your problem is that you think being direct gives you permission to be mean, Adam said, and his voice had dropped lower now. More controlled, but somehow more intense. You think that as long as you frame something as a question, you can say whatever you want. But I'm not one of your staff members who has to sit here and take it. I'm a guest on your show, and I deserve respect. Kelly's hands were trembling slightly as she gestured toward him. I have shown you nothing but respect. The fact that you can't see that is honestly shocking to me. I invited you here. I've been supportive of your career. And the second I ask you something that makes you slightly uncomfortable, you accuse me of being hostile and mean. You want to talk about what you've asked me? Adam's voice rose again. Fine, let's break it down. You asked if I feel like I'm in Freddie's shadow. You suggested that I should step back from Queen. You implied that my solo career has been disappointing. You said that I'm not living up to expectations. And then you had the audacity to suggest that I'm projecting when I called you out on it. How is any of that supportive, Kelly? The two of them stood there staring at each other across the set, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Kelly opened her mouth to respond, then closed it again. For a moment, she looked like she might actually back down, like she might acknowledge that things had gone too far. But then her expression hardened again. You know what, Adam? Maybe you're right. Maybe I did push too hard, but you want to know why? Kelly's voice was quieter now, but somehow more cutting. Because I look at you and I see someone who's settled, someone who had all this potential, all this fire, And instead of chasing your own dreams, you're living out someone else's. And yeah, maybe that bothers me because we came from the same place. And we both had choices to make about what kind of artists we wanted to be. Adam's face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Shock, hurt, and then something closer to fury. Settled? Kelly, you think I've settled? Haven't you? Kelly shot back. Tell me honestly, when you were on that idol stage, singing your heart out, taking risks with every performance, did you imagine your future would be spending years touring with a legacy band? Or did you imagine something different? Something that was yours? What I imagined, Adam said, his voice dangerously quiet now, was having a career where I could make music, perform for people, and actually enjoy what I do. And guess what? That's exactly what I have. I'm sorry if that doesn't meet your standards of success, but I don't need your approval or anyone else's. Kelly laughed, and it was a harsh sound. Of course you don't need my approval. But let's be real here, Adam. How many of your solo albums have gone platinum? How many #1 hits do you have? Compare that to what you could have achieved, to what people expected from you. There it is again, Adam said, shaking his head. Expectations. Other people's expectations. Kelly, do you ever get tired of living up to everyone else's ideas of what you should be? Don't turn this around on me, Kelly snapped. This interview is about you. Is it though? Adam challenged. Because it feels like this interview is about you working through some stuff, and I just happen to be the convenient target. You want to talk about expectations? Let's talk about yours. Let's talk about how you have to be America's sweetheart every single day. How you have to be bubbly and positive and relatable all the time. How you can't just be honest about the fact that maybe, just maybe, you're angry that the music industry isn't what you thought it would be. Kelly's composure cracked visibly. You don't know anything about what I deal with. Don't I? Adam pressed. Kelly, we've known each other for years. I've watched you navigate this industry just like I have. I've seen you put on the smile, do the interviews, say all the right things, and I've seen the toll it takes. So don't stand here and lecture me about settling when you're the one who built a career on making everyone else comfortable. That's my job, Kelly said, her voice breaking slightly. I have a talk show. Making people comfortable is literally what I'm supposed to do. And singing with Queen is my job, Adam countered. But you don't see me as doing a job I love. You see me as someone who gave up. Why is that, Kelly? Why can't you just accept that different people find fulfillment in different ways? Kelly was silent for a moment, her chest rising and falling with quick breaths. When she spoke again, her voice was strained. Because when I look at you, I see wasted potential. I see someone who could have changed music, who could have pushed boundaries and redefined what it means to be a mainstream pop star. And instead, you're singing Bohemian Rhapsody for the 1000th time. The words hung in the air like a slap. Adam's face went pale, then flushed with anger. Wasted potential, he repeated slowly. That's what you think of me. That's what this whole thing has been about. Adam, I didn't mean it like that, Kelly started, but he cut her off. Yes, you did. You absolutely meant it like that. You think I wasted my talent, my opportunities, my career. You think I took the easy road by joining Queen instead of fighting to make my solo work mainstream. You think I gave up. His voice was shaking now, not with anger but with genuine hurt. Do you have any idea how insulting that is? Do you have any concept of how hard I've worked? How much I've given to my craft? How many obstacles I've had to overcome in this industry? Of course I know, Kelly said, but she sounded less certain now. Adam, I know how hard you've worked. Do you, though? Because it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you've reduced my entire career to a failure because it doesn't look like yours. It sounds like you think the only valid form of success is topping the Billboard charts and winning awards. Adam's hands were clenched at his sides. Let me tell you something, Kelly. I have done things in my career that I'm incredibly proud of. I've performed in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I've brought joy to fans all over the world. I've kept the music of one of the greatest artists who ever lived alive for a new generation. And if you think that's settling, if you think that's wasting potential, then you have a very narrow view of what success actually means. Kelly's eyes were glistening now, tears threatening to spill over. "I never said you should be like me. I never said your career had to look like mine." "Didn't you?" Adam's voice was softer now, but no less intense. "Because everything you've said today has been a comparison. My career versus what could have been. My choices versus some imaginary version where I made different ones. You've spent this entire interview judging me based on a standard that you've decided is the right one." "I was trying to have a meaningful conversation," Kelly said, and now the tears were falling. "I was trying to get past the surface-level publicity stuff and actually talk about something real." "No, Kelly. You were trying to prove something to yourself by tearing me down. And I don't know if that's about your own career frustrations, or your own questions about the choices you've made, or something else entirely. But what I do know is that I don't have to stand here and be your punching bag." Adam reached down and unclipped his microphone, his movements deliberate and controlled. Kelly watched him remove the microphone, her expression a mixture of shock and something that looked like regret. "Adam, wait. Please don't do this. We can talk through this." "Talk through what, Kelly?" Adam set the microphone down on the coffee table between them with a soft thud. "You've made your feelings perfectly clear. You think I settled? You think I wasted my potential? What else is there to talk about?" "I'm sorry," Kelly said, and her voice cracked on the words. "I'm sorry if I hurt you. That wasn't my intention." Adam looked at her for a long moment, and some of the anger seemed to drain from his face, replaced by exhaustion and disappointment. "You know what the saddest part of this is? I came here today excited to see you. I thought we were friends. I thought we understood each other, that we'd been through similar experiences and could relate to each other's journeys. But instead, you spent this entire interview making me feel small for choices that I'm proud of." "We are friends," Kelly insisted, taking a step toward him. "Adam, please." I pushed too hard. I asked questions I shouldn't have asked. "But we can get past this." "Can we?" Adam asked quietly. "Because right now, I don't feel like you respect me at all. I feel like you pity me, or worse, like you're disappointed in me for not living up to some version of me that only existed in your head." Kelly wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand, mascara smudging slightly. "I do respect you. God, Adam, I respect you so much. Your talent, your voice, your presence on stage. You're incredible. But?" Adam prompted because they both knew there was a but coming. Kelly hesitated, then seemed to deflate. "But I guess, yeah, part of me wishes you'd taken a different path. Part of me wishes you'd fought harder to make the mainstream accept you on your own terms, instead of finding success within an existing framework. And maybe that's not fair of me. Maybe that's my issue, not yours." "It is your issue," Adam said, but his tone was gentler now, less angry and more sad. "Kelly, you can't put your expectations on me. You can't judge my happiness by your standards. I love what I do. I love performing with Brian and Roger. I love bringing Queen's music to people who never got to see Freddie perform it live. That's not settling. That's not wasting potential. That's choosing a path that brings me joy and fulfillment." "I know," Kelly whispered. "I know that, and I'm sorry for suggesting otherwise. I think I got caught up in trying to create this deep, meaningful interview moment, and I lost sight of the fact that I was talking to a real person with real feelings." Adam nodded slowly. "That's part of the problem with shows like this, isn't it? Everything has to be a moment. Everything has to be deep and revealing and quotable. Sometimes that means pushing people further than they want to go." "Yeah," Kelly agreed, her voice small. "Sometimes it does." They stood there in silence for a moment, the studio still eerily quiet. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent, so they did nothing. The producers were clearly having urgent discussions through their headsets, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. But Adam had already made his decision. "I think I should go," he said finally. "I don't think either of us is in the right headspace to continue this interview, and honestly, I don't want to say something I'll regret later." Kelly nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand. I'm really sorry, Adam. I mean that." "I know you are," Adam said, and he even managed a small, sad smile. "And for what it's worth, I'm sorry too. I said some harsh things about your career and your choices, and that wasn't fair either. We're both just trying to navigate this impossible industry in our own ways." "We are," Kelly agreed. "And I should have respected your way instead of judging it." Adam picked up his phone from the side table where he'd set it at the beginning of the interview. "Maybe we can talk about this later when things have calmed down. But right now I need to leave." "Okay," Kelly said quietly. "Okay." Adam turned and walked toward the edge of the stage, his steps measured and deliberate. He didn't storm off in a rage or slam anything or make a dramatic scene. He simply walked away with dignity, leaving behind a stunned audience and a tearful host. Just before he disappeared behind the curtain, he paused and looked back at Kelly one more time. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Kelly," he said, his voice carrying across the silent studio. "Whatever it is that's making you question everyone's choices, including your own. I really do hope you find it." Then he was gone, and Kelly stood alone on her set, the weight of what had just happened settling over everyone in the room. She wiped at her face again, took a shaky breath, and looked toward her producers off camera. They were gesturing frantically, probably telling her to cut to commercial, to salvage what they could of the show. But Kelly just stood there for a moment longer, processing everything that had been said. What started as a routine interview between two Idol alums turned into something much more raw and real than anyone expected. The question is, what really triggered this confrontation? Was Kelly projecting her own career frustrations onto Adam, or was she genuinely trying to push for a deeper conversation? And was Adam right to walk off, or should he have tried to work through it on camera? These are the questions everyone's going to be asking for days to come. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on any fallout from this interview, and drop a comment below. Do you think Kelly crossed the line with her questioning, or was Adam too sensitive about his career choices?